Well, hey there, it's meteorologist Tom Russell, and we're coming to you as a way of kind of looking back, if you will, to 1996, the blizzard of 96. So, on these 3 days, the 6th, 7th, and 8th of 1996, we had basically two back to back storms that produced over 2 feet of snow here in central PA. And we wanted to invite in meteorologist Ed Russo because, Ed, this was the storm that got you into meteorology, your love of weather. Did I have that right?
Yeah, I had the weather bug, so to speak, before that, but this storm, when I experienced it, I'm like, okay, that's what I want to do. I want to explain this stuff to people, and I want to tell them why it happens. And it was just, as a 10-year-old kid at the time, I was in third grade. I just remember the snow started to fall on a Friday, and it kept
Kept coming.
falling. It didn't stop. It didn't stop until Monday morning.
Yeah, it really kept coming. So, from a meteorological standpoint, now that you are a meteorologist, you fulfilled your dream. This was the perfect setup. It's what we call Miller A, which means it comes out of the south, so it taps into the Gulf of Mexico moisture, the Atlantic moisture, and it just creates this perfect scenario. So, as you look at the overall weather, the snowfall total map, I mean, all the way up the Atlantic coast here, you had massive amounts of snow. So it was really impressive. So officially, it was kind of split into almost two storms, but still coming in at about 2 feet for Harrisburg. But then some of the outlying areas where you grew up in York, closer to 30 inches for you, right?
Yeah, actually, even more than that. So, what was interesting about the storm is we saw many reports, especially West Virginia, Virginia, of 30 to 40 inches of snow. And when you look at central PA as a whole, there was one little jackpot area in central York County that officially got 38 inches of snow from this. So
38.
Harrisburg, yeah, officially only getting 22, but just as you head south into York, they got substantially more because of just one major snow band that kind of parked over central York County. So they really got hit. That was one of the hardest hit areas in all of central PA because of that one snow band. But I mean, when you think about it, 3 feet is impressive for a lake effect snowstorm.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about 3 feet coming from a nor'easter like this, that's something that you'll never forget. And I remember when this storm was happening, I was thinking to myself, I didn't know the atmosphere could do this.
Right.
Like I didn't know it could snow this much. I mean, it was crazy how much it just kept coming down. And I remember my dad was at work. He was stuck at the hospital. And my mom was home with my brother and I remember we had a little box TV in the corner with the news on talking about the storm. We were, my mom was glued to it looking for constant updates. And my brother and we kind of were camped out on the family room floor watching that little box TV. And this was well past our bedtime. And she was allowing us to just kind of watch the storm unfold. I think her concern was, well, when's my dad going to get home?
Right.
Or if he's going to attempt to come home, how's that going to fare for him? And, it ended up being, he had to abandon his car after all of the snow. I mean, it was the kind of storm where you left your house and your road was plowed and you're kind of, you were really chancing it because if you just go right down the street, the road could be completely impassable.
Close, right. And to put it in perspective, a couple of years before in 93, we could call the storm of the century. So we had a lot of snow just a couple of years before, and then you see this one. So what makes this fascinating, because we tie this together with the flood of 96, and the reason for that is right after this, we warmed up quickly, and we had a ton of rain. So we melted all this, had a ton of rain on top of this, and this is the storm that took out the Walnut Street Bridge in Harrisburg.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was about maybe 10 days later that we got the huge rain event. It might have been even a little longer than that, but I remember it was cold immediately after the blizzard of 96. So a lot of the snow, the 3 feet that fell, compacted. So you still had 15, 20 to 20 inches on the ground that was compacted snow.
Right.
And when we started to warm up into the 50s, I remember that we still had a really solid snowpack of 1 to 2 feet of snow. And then I remember the rain came, and within hours, it was gone.
Yeah, we always call rain a snow eater and that's what it does. It just melts that stuff right away, and that just caused inundation, obviously with the Susquehanna, but just about everywhere. And
Think
there was no stopping.
think about all that water, that snow melt. Well, where did it go? It went into the Susquehanna River. I mean, the creeks and streams were
Right.
just completely out of their banks. So it was a perfect recipe. So the blizzard of '96 was just the start of a pretty crazy month of weather around
Yeah, it
here.
was really crazy. And
Mhm.
tell me a little bit about you as a kid. Did you want to go out like every hour and your clothes were wet and mom was like, stay in for a little bit, or were you?
Yeah, as a kid, snow is just awesome when you're a
Right.
kid. I mean, I don't think I grew up with any kids that didn't like snow, because snow did a couple of things. It canceled school, and it just turned the landscape into a winter wonderland playground.
Right. And you
And
could build forts and all that fun stuff.
yeah, and I remember we have a little bunny hill in our backyard, and it's a bunny hill. It's not that big. And I remember it took me 30 minutes to walk up the hill because the snow, I forget my height at the time, but again, I was 10 years old, and I'm not,
And you're still short. So I mean,
yeah, I'm still short. So, but yeah, the snow was well past my knees, up to my waist. So imagine the kind of movement to get you lift up your knees the entire way and then step forward. I mean, that's part of the reason when my dad talks about walking home after he abandoned his car. Yeah.
right.
After he abandoned his car, he had to literally lift up his knee all the way to step forward. And he had to do that for half a mile.
Jeez.
So during the middle of the walk, he had that thought in his head. Am I going to make it back? That's actually a thought that went through his head. So that just shows you how hard it was to not only travel by car, but also
Right.
just travel by foot when you're trying to lift your knees up like that. I mean, you're using totally different muscle groups when you're lifting your knees up like that. And since
Right.
most of us don't walk like that on any given day,
Right.
it fatigues you very fast.
Workout. It's a workout.
It's a workout. It's a great workout. But
Now, what I would find fascinating is how we would handle this today with social media everywhere and our immediate rush to shut everything down. So your dad worked at a hospital. The hospital has to stay open, right? So people just camped out there. That's what we always did in media. We just slept at the TV station.
Right. And I think, he worked an on-call shift. So at the end of that 24-hour on-call shift, I mean, he was ready to come home. There wasn't any storm that was going to stop him, but he did make it back. But yeah, I mean, it really makes you think there's a lot of people that have to be out there traveling
Right.
and commuting in conditions like that, because, emergency services, first responders, they have to be out there no matter what's going on.
Yeah.
Um,
So there it is. 30 years later, you see some
Yeah.
pictures there. So we'd love to hear your thoughts if you're watching and you want to share some of those pictures. We've been doing that on Facebook, and some folks' memory of this. A lot of kids, were born during that storm.
Yeah. I remember, up until that point, I remember, anytime we had a snow event in the winter, we might have a day off of school here. We might have a day off of school there. We had Christmas break. We went back January 2nd, had a full week of school. And that Friday's when the snow started. I forget if we left early that day, but the entire following week, we didn't go back. So it was wild to me that there could be a storm so massive that we would be out of school for an entire week. I remember, on the radio back then, that's one of the ways you figured out if your school was closed,
Right,
or
yeah,
you
that
watched
was
the
true.
crawl at the bottom of the TV, but it was either the TV, the bottom of the TV, the crawl, or
radio.
it was, the radio.
Yeah.
And the radio stations in York had something called Operation Snow Watch. And my brother and I would be listening to it every morning, Monday morning, and we'd hear Dallastown area schools closed. Then Tuesday and Wednesday morning came around, Dallastown area schools closed. Friday morning came around, a week after the storm started, Dallastown area schools closed. So we'd never contemplated a storm so massive that could close school for an entire week, even a little bit more.
Yeah.
So it was wild.
Well, thank you so much for sharing those memories. I know a lot of folks have already been sharing on our Facebook page, so continue to do that. We love seeing your pictures. But 30th anniversary of the blizzard of
It
1996.
dates you. I'm like, the number one comment I hear about people now is when I bring the storm up, they're like, that was 30 years ago.
I
And
know,
then
right?
you feel it ages you, you know?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I remember the blizzard of 36. How about that?
Tom, what do? You look great for your age.
No, and
I'm sure you do.
thanks for sharing the memories. And again, if you're watching, please share your memories too over on our Facebook page. And we love seeing your information. So thanks for checking us out and enjoy the vivid memories of the blizzard of 96.